Man, we are pumping out videos today, and we got another one here. This is No Huddle Fantasy Sports, and today in this video, we're going to be covering the Week 16 DFS Saturday slate. That's right, Thursday Night Football, that one-game stupid slate, middle of the week NFL is over. We now have Saturday NFL football. We have a small three-game slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel tomorrow. We're going to be covering just that here, our DFS Week 16 Saturday plays. Not necessarily the greatest slate to play, but something we can have fun with. I'm going to be giving you those guys that I'll be fitting into my lineups, guys that I'd recommend you try and play if you're going to build some lineups and have some fun tomorrow. So if you're looking to play tomorrow, if you're trying to have some fun, build some cool lineups, I've got you covered here with my top plays for tomorrow for the Saturday three-game slate. Stay tuned. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel in another video. Welcome back to No Huddle Fantasy Sports. And before we go anywhere, I have to say happy holidays. Screw it. Merry Christmas. I'm not scared to say it. I know it might be politically incorrect. Some people are hesitant to say that, but I celebrate Christmas. It's a great time of the year. So from me to you, Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I won't be able to say that again before Christmas, before we put out another video. And you'll notice here we got a lot going on. It's a different slate, so we got a different theme for the holiday season, for Christmas. We got the red and green. It's a shorter video here. We're just covering the fun slate tomorrow. It's a three-game small slate, and I approach it just like that. It's to be fun. It's a shorter, smaller slate. We have an 11-game slate on Sunday. That's something to take a little more serious, but tomorrow, that's my only warning to you. We'll be covering players that I'm playing. I wouldn't call them core players. These are just guys I'm going to be fitting into lineups. I'm only going to be putting out a few lineups. There's only so many ways you can go. Figure we have 6 teams to pick from, 6 quarterbacks to pick from. Some are in good spots, some are in bad spots. Some are playing for playoffs, some are playing for absolutely nothing. So we have to be careful. I wouldn't recommend dumping your normal bankroll into tomorrow's slate, but certainly get a part of it. Have some fun. But again, be careful, be cautious, be smart, and understand what it is. And that's a 3-game slate on DraftKings and on FanDuel with limited selection. That being said, I am playing. I'm getting a part of tomorrow's 3-game slate. Probably going to play a little more FanDuel than DraftKings. I've been doing that lately. And to approach this slate and to approach the quarterback position, I am keeping it pretty simple with Deshaun Watson for Houston playing in Tampa Bay. 7,000 on DraftKings, 8,600 on FanDuel. Really, it comes down to, I'm just not trying to get cute here. He has the highest floor, highest ceiling, most upside for a quarterback. Playing for a lot. They have to continue to win to maintain a playoff position. Again, they're playing in Tampa Bay. They are an away team that is a favorite. 49.5 over under. Ignore the 33 there. It should say -3. So we're looking at probably a close game. The 49.5 over under is the highest on the small slate. -3 means the game should remain close. We know Tampa Bay has been involved in several shootouts over the season. And for that spot, I do like Deshaun Watson over Winston, for example. Jameis Winston, there's other guys like him that are in good spots. Winston versus Houston's a good spot. Good matchup, but he has no weapons. He's somewhat hurt. I realize he passed for 450 plus yards last week, but he had at least Godwin for a little bit. Now he's down him. Who knows who he's throwing to? Perryman, other guys like that. I just don't want to get involved in that, and it might come back to bite me, but I'm trying to play it smart. I'm having fun on this slate. Deshaun Watson's my guy for this slate for that. If I play 10 lineups, I'm going to have 7 or 8 Deshaun Watson, and I'll talk about a guy I'll throw in as a crapshoot at the end. But I mentioned already, away favorite at Tampa Bay, 49.5 over under, -3 favorite, must-win game for Houston. They're in the playoffs currently, I believe, but regardless, they have to continue to win the game. He's been on fire the last few games. As the pressure's gone up, he's played better, averaging 26 plus fantasy points per game over the last 3, and with that, he's been utilizing his ability to run the ball, which is great for us. That means his floor is higher. He's had 13 rushes over the last 2 games, which has resulted in 76 rushing yards. It seems to me, as the leverage situation, as the pressure goes up, the must-win situation, he has taken it upon himself to run more and more, which again is great. Hires his floor, hires his ceiling, all good things for fantasy football. But in terms of the matchup, it's an excellent matchup versus Tampa Bay. Their defense is allowing approximately 275 passing yards a game currently for the season, 21 plus on DraftKings, 20 plus fantasy points per game on FanDuel. All good things for quarterbacks. Probably the best spot in terms of a quarterback defense versus position matchup. And the last little point I want to make here is he has a full complement of weapons that are now healthy. Unlike Winston, who's down to basically guys off the street, Watson has Will Fuller back, for example, who has been out for a while. while, but he's back. He is obviously Nuke, DeAndre Hopkins, an excellent receiver. So we're talking about Deshaun Watson. He's in a good spot, higher floor with his ability to run, good spot in terms of a matchup, all his weapons healthy, most expensive guy, but not much more than the others. I like him, almost guaranteed to be the highest owned quarterback by a large margin, but I think we can differentiate in other areas. I'm going to play him, safe play, high floor, high ceiling, all the good stuff. I'm going Watson as my quarterback. Moving on to the running back here, and one thing I want to point out, if you haven't noticed, we're upgrading things here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports. We've added images of players, so big time here, big things happening. Stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed for all that good stuff going forward. But the first guy I'm going to mention here, again, we're talking about a 3-game slate, so these guys are going to be owned. Nothing unusual here. Raheem Mostert, if I pronounce that correctly, for San Francisco. 6,100 on DraftKings, 7,100 on FanDuel. If this was a normal slate, an 11-game slate like Sunday, this would make me nervous because they kind of have a 3-headed monster. He is getting the majority of the snaps. It seems as if San Francisco's playing the hot hand. He's had 53% of the snaps in Week 15. Good things, I guess. Makes me nervous a little bit because it's not your 75% snap count that you get out of main guys. But he's the guy I'm going to go with here as my number one guy. 6.5 home point favorite versus the Los Angeles Rams. I talked about how the Rams just gave up 100 yards apiece plus to both Zeke and Pollard last week. So good things here when the Rams play on the road. Always like that big home favorite running back. It seems to be this guy here. If you want to get crazy different, you could pick one of the other running backs for San Francisco. But trying to predict it, I think he's the most predictable guy of the bunch. Like I said, 53% snap count in Week 15. Week 5, though, San Francisco, I wanted to make this mention. They did play at Los Angeles Rams. San Francisco had 41 rushing attempts versus the Rams. So they want to commit to the run. If you talk about 41 rushing attempts, if he's going to get 10, 15, maybe even 20 of those attempts, that's a lot of attempts. That's good things versus a bad defense that can't defend the run. I like Mostert, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, for San Francisco. If you guys got anything different here, let me know in the comments below, but I'm going off that data, that set. Next guy here, almost equally as uneasy to me, is Ronald Jones for Tampa Bay. Really hard to find running backs playing at home. He is, albeit he is a underdog, a -3 underdog, but I do like him at 4,400 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. He has the slate best matchup in terms of defense versus position on paper versus the Houston Texans, who are giving up 90-plus rushing yards a game right now. He's playing about 45% of the snaps, possibly more with all the injuries. So we've seen Godwin go down. We've seen Mike Evans go down. They've suffered a number of injuries. Maybe, I don't know, in a crazy world, that equals more for Ronald Jones. I would have to say, too, him versus Barber. Barber's the older back. I believe they drafted Jones a year or two ago to be their main back, so maybe they work him in more here. Again, really uneasy. These guys, none of them are playing that heavy workload. Maybe if you want to play Todd Gurley, you could get that, but he's in a bad spot in terms of a matchup on the road. I do like these two guys. They're fitting into my lineups currently. Next up, we have our wide receivers here, and I'm basically just going to pair my guys, these two guys, with Deshaun Watson. It's that simple. DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller for Houston. Don't even have another wide receiver listed here. It's that simple for me. DeAndre Hopkins, really expensive. Who gives a shit? 8,500 on DraftKings. Better price on FanDuel at only 8,700. Just pay it, play him. He has the easiest wide receiver matchup versus Tampa Bay. He's Nuke. He's going to play well versus anyone. I don't have to explain any of this, but he's in a good spot. Tampa Bay is giving up the most amount of points, fantasy points per game to wide receivers. So why not play DeAndre Hopkins? Just do it. But it's also the highest total game. I talked about that at 49.5. They are a pass-first offense. Everything goes through. It's kind of pass to set up the run right now. They do okay with Carlos Hyde on the ground, but Tampa Bay, like I mentioned, their defense is pretty good versus the run. I think they're going to have to force the ball, maybe pass the ball 40, 50 times. Who knows? Could be a complete shootout. Well, who knows tomorrow? It's a 3-game slate. We're trying to have fun. Don't invest $1 million into it. Just see what happens. These are the two guys I'm going with. Will Fuller, the next guy, 5,900 on DraftKings, 6,100 on FanDuel. Arguably, like I said, easiest matchup. Everything above applies. Number one in terms of fantasy points per game for Tampa Bay's defense. Highest total game. All that still applies. But what's cool about Will Fuller, he, based upon Pro Football Focus, is in the best wide receiver cornerback matchup, better than DeAndre Hopkins. So I do really like Will Fuller. He is healthy. He played last week. Did pretty good. He played 90 94% of the snaps, which shows me he is really healthy. He should continue to play. There's no question. I know he missed a couple games, but that I think is a precaution just like it was last week. I'm sorry, a couple practices this week he missed, but I'm not worried about that. He had 7 targets in week 15. Should see 7 to 10 targets this week. All predictable. Can blow the top off of defense. I like big play Will Fuller. So if every single week tight end is the hardest position to play, and I do like to spend down at tight end, what's it going to be like week 16 on a 3-game slate? Well, it's awful. But we're going to go with the guys probably everybody's going to play, and that's George Kittle for San Francisco, 6,500 on DraftKings, 7,400 on FanDuel. And then if you want to pay down a little bit, God forbid, go with O.J. Howard for Tampa Bay. Truly is Christmas, man. 4,000 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel, having a terrible, terrible season. But for George Kittle, he is who he is. He's obviously a great tight end, likely the best tight end, maybe outside of Travis Kelce, the second best tight end in football right now. Pro Football Focus, though, has him tied for the Slate best tight end matchup. Not saying much considering there's only, 6 guys available. But according to Pro Football Focus, he is in a plus 21% matchup. And he also does have a history against the Rams. I talked about how they played them in week 8 earlier. Well, in week 8, he had an 8-target, 8-reception game, 108-yard totals. Didn't score a touchdown, but has that upside, man. He can get 10, 15 targets any given game if they go to the pass. Little weird here because I'm recommending a running back too. But George Kittle, easily the best play on the slate. If you can afford him, fit him in. You're going to be with a lot of other people in terms of ownership, but I do like him. O.J. Howard for Tampa Bay. I mentioned how cheap he is, and he is cheap because he has sucked. He has been a very, very bad tight end, has barely played at times. We just know Tampa Bay and their current scheme, their offense just does not use tight ends. But the thing here is there's no one left in terms of pass catching on that team. It's Perriman. We have Mike Evans on the injured reserve. They've already rolled out Godwin. So where is Howard going to go? Where is Winston going to go with the ball? It's got to be Howard. It's got to be some of those backup receivers. So you got to like him. Playing 80 to 90% of the snaps still over the last 3 weeks. He's had 19 targets, which has been solid. It's just the rest of the year, in my mind, he's been awful. So, I don't know, 5-10 targets out of a $4,000 DraftKings guy. You got to take that. You got to like that. Decent salary. Again, expected increase in usage with the injuries and those guys that are out. Also, of quick note, I saw something randomly on Twitter where I believe Winston went up to Howard and Brait, who you could also try to start if you want, and said, be ready to catch the ball. You got to like that, right? You got to play them based upon that. So there you go. Winston might be force feeding these guys the ball. And so I'd love to talk to you guys for about 40 minutes on a 3-game slate, but it is a 3-game slate, and I'm not going to do that. These are some other considerations. If I'm not, I talked about how I'll play 7 out of 10 lineups, whatever I make, 70% Watson. If I go anywhere else, I'm going to try to go Jimmy Garoppolo, praying that he is one of the lower owned guys. Doesn't seem like too many people are on him, maybe because they're mostly on their running backs, but he would be the next guy in line. Todd Gurley, he's just been playing better, really. Not in the greatest matchup versus San Francisco, but nonetheless, he is one of the few guys that could get a full 20. He'll play 80, 90% of the snaps. Basically, he's one of the few guys that does that. James White, another guy, playing well lately. Sonny Michel has really sucked for the Patriots. James White, he's a pass-catching back, really good in DraftKings, but he's also gotten some carries on the ground lately because they don't have much of a run game. So you got to like him. Devin Singletary, the other side of the ball there for Buffalo. Got to like him. He's been playing better and better. His usage goes up and up each and every game. More carries. I think he had 21 carries last week, and then it's just going up. So you got to like Devin Singletary versus a tough New England defense. Robert Woods, if I'm picking a Rams receiver, it is him. He might not, he's the cheapest, I believe, of him and Kupp. Don't play Cooks. But he has gotten the most consistent high usage, high opportunity, high target, high volume of that offense, that passing game. So do like Robert Woods if you can fit him. Cole Beasley, I'm not going to play John Brown probably, but I will play Cole Beasley. I think you have a chance as an inside receiver versus the Patriots. Versus outside receivers, they are pretty much just shut down by New England. If you want to try to be crazy, you could go Mohamed Sanu here. I don't think he will be highly owned at all. Edelman's a little banged up. Tom Brady has got to go somewhere else besides Edelman and throwing to check down running backs. Mohamed Sanu is in a great spot. I loved when they traded for him. He played a lot last week, I believe. His usage has gone up. His volume, his opportunity has gone up. So maybe we could capitalize on Sanu this week. Justin Watson, Tampa Bay, it's not Perriman. Everybody's going to play Perriman. So for that reason, I'm literally really not going to play Perriman. It could bite me in the butt because he could go off. He's really the only guy that has last week he had success. So I don't know, but I'll go Justin Watson. Will be decently owned, but I'm going him over Perriman this week for Tampa Bay. And then this last guy here for Tampa Bay, this is a real dart shot. Ishmael Hyman. He should be getting obviously more usage, more opportunity, more snaps because of the injuries to Godwin and Evans. So look for him possibly as a dart throw if you're looking to differentiate. And so with that, that kind of wraps up the Saturday 3-game slate. Again, be smart, be careful, don't dump a ton of money in, don't expect to crush this slate because everybody is on these plays. You have to differentiate. That's the only thing I would suggest to you guys. The guys I've given out are going to be owned. You got to find like a Ishmael Hyman or somebody crazy. Maybe you play Coleman as a running back for San Francisco. I don't know what it is, but you're not going to take down a GPP by just playing Kittle, Watson, Hopkins, those types of guys because they're going to be owned. So try to differentiate, find a guy or two. You're going to have to do that. My recommendation to you though is have fun tomorrow. Treat it like it is, which is a 3-game small slate. It's cool to have some NFL on Saturday. Then we have our big 11-game slate on Sunday. So I'll be getting back to you guys with another video talking more specifically about that slate. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, check out the previous video. I just also released it today in regards to matchups for the week. Helps you in season-long championships, helps you in DFS. Everything you want regarding matchups is covered in that video. There should be a thing in the upper corner of this video linking you back to that video. I have full spreadsheets also in the description of that video you can download for free, no gimmicks, nothing like that. And last but not least, and as always, thank you guys for tuning in. I do really appreciate all of the support. I know you guys have been following, keeping up for the last few weeks. We continue to grow as a community, as a channel, which is always awesome. If you haven't done so already, I know a lot of you guys aren't subscribed. That's the easiest way to help support this channel is just make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. And I promise it's worth it. I put out videos each and every week. I'll do some content for MLB. I love that for DFS. We got a lot of stuff coming, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And to close things out, of course, good luck tomorrow. Have fun. That's the key. Don't be stressed out. And Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.